Welcome to today's episode. Have you ever wondered what truly makes a person grow? Not just in success, but in impact, confidence, and purpose. Is growth something that simply happens with time? Or is it something far more intentional and powerful? In this episode, we dive into The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth by John C. Maxwell, a book that reveals how real growth is built through daily choices, self-awareness, discipline, and the courage to change. Growth doesn't just happen. You have to be intentional about it. Many people spend years waiting for change. They assume that life itself will teach them everything they need to know. But in reality, time alone does not lead to growth. Experience is only valuable if it is reflected upon, learned from, and applied. Otherwise, people often repeat the same patterns year after year without real progress. Passive people wait. They wait for opportunities, motivation, or the right time. Intentional people, on the other hand, take control. They actively seek growth, invest in themselves, and make conscious decisions to improve. Maxwell also introduces the concept of the knowing-doing gap. This is the gap between what you know and what you actually do. Most people already know what they need to improve. Read more, learn new skills, take risks, step out of their comfort zone, but they don't act on it. This gap is one of the biggest barriers to personal growth. Closing this gap requires discipline and commitment. It means turning knowledge into daily action. Because growth is not based on what you know, it's based on what you do consistently. Another key insight is the power of small, consistent habits. Maxwell emphasizes that growth is not a one-time event or a sudden breakthrough. It is a gradual process built through daily effort. Small improvements, repeated over time, create significant transformation. What you do today may seem small, but over time, it shapes your identity and your future. Growth requires ownership. No one else can do it for you. You can have mentors, teachers, and resources, but at the end of the day, you are responsible for your own development. Waiting for external circumstances to change will only delay your progress. Maxwell encourages readers to adopt a mindset of continuous improvement. Instead of asking, "Will I grow?" the question should be, "How will I grow today?" This shift in thinking moves you from hope to action. Growth often requires stepping outside your comfort zone. Staying comfortable may feel safe, but it limits your potential. Growth happens when you challenge yourself, try new things, and embrace discomfort as part of the process. Your future is not determined by chance. It is shaped by your daily choices, habits, and level of intentionality. And the moment you become intentional about your growth, everything begins to shift. You must know yourself to grow yourself. This is known as the law of awareness. Real growth cannot begin until you have clarity about who you are. Many people try to improve their lives without understanding their strengths, weaknesses, values, or true purpose. As a result, they often end up pursuing paths that don't truly fit them, leading to frustration and stagnation. Self-awareness is the starting point of intentional growth. It requires honesty, sometimes uncomfortable honesty, with yourself. You need to recognize not only what you are good at, but also where you struggle, what motivates you, and what drains your energy. Without this understanding, growth becomes random instead of directed. Many people live their lives based on external expectations rather than internal understanding. They choose careers, goals, and lifestyles based on what others expect or what society values, rather than what truly aligns with their identity. This disconnect prevents authentic growth. When you understand yourself deeply, you are better able to make decisions that align with your strengths and long-term purpose. Growth becomes more focused and meaningful. Self-awareness is not something you achieve once. It is an ongoing process. As you grow, you continue to discover new aspects of yourself. This means regularly reflecting, evaluating your experiences, and adjusting your direction when necessary. Another important idea is that comparison can block awareness. When you constantly compare yourself to others, you lose sight of your own journey. Growth is not about becoming someone else. It is about becoming the best version of yourself. Without self-awareness, growth lacks direction. You may be moving, but you are not necessarily moving forward in the right direction. To grow intentionally, you must first understand who you truly are, because direction without awareness is just motion, not progress. John C. Maxwell introduces a powerful and deeply personal principle, the law of the mirror. At its core, this law states that you must see value in yourself to add value to yourself. One of the biggest barriers to personal growth is not a lack of opportunity, talent, or resources, but a distorted self-image. Many people struggle not because they are incapable, but because they do not truly believe they are capable. The way you see yourself directly influences the way you live your life. If you don't see value in yourself, you will unconsciously limit your growth. You may avoid challenges, underestimate your abilities, or settle for less than you're capable of achieving. On the other hand, when you begin to recognize your worth, you start to invest in yourself differently. You take more risks, pursue opportunities, and push beyond your comfort zone. Maxwell emphasizes that self-image is often shaped by past experiences, criticism, failure, or comparisons with others. Over time, these influences can create a negative internal narrative. However, the key to growth is learning to challenge and change that narrative. You cannot consistently grow your skills, career, or relationships if you are constantly battling self-doubt. The foundation of all external success is internal belief. Maxwell also highlights the importance of intentional self-talk. The conversations you have with yourself shape your confidence and direction. If your internal dialogue is negative, your actions will reflect that limitation. But if you begin to speak to yourself with encouragement, honesty, and belief, your behavior will gradually align with that mindset. Another important insight is that self-value is not about arrogance or perfection. It is about recognizing your potential while also accepting your current imperfections. True growth happens when you believe you are both valuable and capable of becoming better. Maxwell encourages readers to take responsibility for how they see themselves. No one else can build your self-image for you. You must choose to challenge limiting beliefs and replace them with a more empowering perspective. Your growth will always rise or fall to the level of your self-image. If you see yourself as limited, your growth will be limited. But if you begin to see possibility within yourself, your potential expands. You will never consistently grow beyond the image you have of yourself, because what you believe about yourself determines what you become. John C. Maxwell introduces a powerful, yet often overlooked principle, the law of reflection. At its core, this law teaches that learning to pause allows growth to catch up with you. In today's fast-paced world, many people are constantly moving from one task to another, without taking time to reflect. They stay busy, but not necessarily productive in terms of personal growth. Without reflection, experiences pass by without becoming lessons, and opportunities for learning are often missed. Reflection is the process of intentionally slowing down to think about your experiences, decisions, and outcomes. It is in these moments of pause that real learning happens. Instead of simply living through events, reflection allows you to understand them, extract meaning, and apply those lessons to future actions. Experience alone does not guarantee growth. Evaluated experience does. Two people can go through the same situation, but the one who reflects will grow significantly more than the one who simply moves on. Reflection creates clarity. When you slow down and step back from the noise of daily life, you begin to see patterns in your behavior, recognize mistakes more clearly, and identify areas for improvement. This clarity helps you make better decisions moving forward. Another important idea is that reflection is not about regret. It is not about criticizing yourself for past mistakes, but about learning from them. When done correctly, reflection becomes a positive and empowering process that builds wisdom rather than guilt. Many people avoid reflection because it requires stillness, and stillness can feel uncomfortable in a productivity-driven world. However, without this pause, growth becomes unbalanced and incomplete. Reflection allows your internal growth to catch up with your external experiences. Sometimes we go through life so quickly that our understanding lags behind our actions. Reflection bridges that gap, ensuring that growth is intentional and aligned. Slowing down is not a setback, it is a strategy. When you take time to reflect, you turn ordinary experiences into powerful lessons that shape your future. If you never pause, you never fully learn, because growth needs time to catch up with experience. John C. Maxwell introduces a principle that separates short-term effort from long-term success: the law of consistency. At its core, this law teaches that motivation gets you going, but discipline keeps you growing. Many people begin their personal growth journey with excitement and energy. They feel motivated, inspired, and ready to change. However, motivation is temporary. It fades when challenges appear, routines become difficult, or results take longer than expected. This is where discipline becomes essential. Discipline is what keeps you moving forward, even when motivation disappears. It is the ability to show up, take action, and stay committed regardless of how you feel in the moment. Growth is not built in bursts, it is built in consistency. Small actions repeated daily have a far greater impact than occasional intense efforts. Just like physical fitness requires regular training, personal growth requires steady and repeated effort over time. Inconsistency is one of the biggest barriers to success. Many people start strong but stop when things become difficult or boring. This pattern prevents real progress because growth requires continuity, not interruption. Another important insight is that discipline creates identity. When you consistently act in alignment with your goals, you begin to see yourself differently. You no longer just try to grow, you become someone who grows. Relying on motivation alone is dangerous because motivation is emotional and emotions are unstable. Discipline, on the other hand, is a decision. It is a commitment to long-term growth, regardless of temporary feelings. Consistency builds momentum. Every disciplined action strengthens your habits, making future actions easier. Over time, Growth becomes part of your lifestyle rather than a forced effort. Success in personal development is not about intensity, it is about consistency. Those who grow the most are not always the most motivated, but the most disciplined. You don't grow because you feel motivated. You grow because you stay consistent, even when you don't. Maxwell explains that your growth is not determined only by your abilities or effort, but also by the environment you place yourself in. Just like a plant needs the right soil, sunlight, and water to grow, people need the right surroundings, relationships, and influences to reach their full potential. Your environment can either support your growth or limit it. If you are surrounded by negative influences, lack of encouragement, or people who discourage growth, it becomes much harder to improve. On the other hand, being in an environment filled with learning, inspiration, and positive challenge naturally pushes you forward. Many people underestimate the power of their environment. They try to grow while remaining in places that do not support growth, whether it's unhealthy relationships, limiting workplaces, or negative social circles. Over time, these environments can slow down or even block personal development. Another important idea is that growth is contagious. When you are around people who are committed to learning and self-improvement, their habits, mindset, and energy influence you. You begin to adopt similar behaviors, often without realizing it. This is why environment plays such a powerful role in shaping your direction. Maxwell also highlights the importance of intentional choice. You are not completely stuck in your environment. You can choose to change it. This might mean seeking new mentors, building relationships with growth-oriented people, or creating personal space for learning and reflection. Growth-oriented environments encourage questions, learning, and experimentation, while stagnant environments often promote comfort, routine, and resistance to change. Recognizing the difference is key to making better decisions about where and with whom you spend your time. Personal growth is not just an internal process, it is also deeply external. The environment you choose plays a critical role in shaping the speed and direction of your development. If you want to grow faster, don't just change your goals, change your environment, because growth thrives where it is supported. Growth doesn't happen randomly, and it doesn't happen efficiently without a plan. Many people want to improve, but they rely on hope instead of structure. They move forward without direction, which leads to slow or inconsistent progress. Intentional growth requires intentional planning. Just like in business or education, you need a clear system for how you will grow. This includes setting priorities, managing your time, and creating routines that support your development. A key idea here is that you must be proactive, not reactive. Instead of waiting for opportunities to learn or grow, you design your days in a way that makes growth inevitable. You schedule time for learning, reflection, and improvement, just like any other important commitment. Maxwell also highlights the importance of daily structure. Your growth is directly connected to how you use your time. If your days are unplanned, your growth will be inconsistent. But when you create a daily plan, even a simple one, you gain control over your progress. Another important insight is that strategy brings focus. Without a plan, it's easy to get distracted or overwhelmed. But when you know exactly what you are working on and why, your energy becomes more directed and effective. He also encourages flexibility within structure. A good plan is not rigid. It evolves as you grow. The goal is not perfection, but consistency and improvement over time. Successful people don't leave growth to chance. They design it. They think ahead, create systems, and follow strategies that align with their goals. If you don't design your growth, your days will design it for you, and not always in the direction you want. Maxwell explains that everyone experiences pain: failure, disappointment, loss, mistakes. These moments are unavoidable, but what separates people is how they respond to those experiences. Some people allow pain to stop them, while others use it as a source of learning and transformation. It's not pain itself that leads to growth, but how you manage it. Pain can be a teacher. When you face difficult experiences, you have a choice: ignore them, deny them, or learn from them. Those who choose to reflect and grow from pain gain wisdom, resilience, and deeper self-awareness. Many people try to avoid pain at all costs. They distract themselves, blame others, or move on too quickly without processing what happened. But avoiding pain often means missing the lesson that comes with it. Another important idea is that growth comes from processing pain, not just experiencing it. Simply going through difficult situations is not enough. You need to reflect, ask questions, and understand what the experience is teaching you. This is where real growth happens. He also highlights that painful experiences often reveal important truths about yourself: your weaknesses, your habits, your mindset. While this can be uncomfortable, it is also an opportunity to improve and become stronger. Maxwell encourages readers to take responsibility for their responses. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" a more powerful question is, "What can I learn from this?" This shift in perspective turns pain into progress. Pain is not something to fear. It is something to use. When managed well, even your hardest experiences can become the foundation of your greatest growth. Pain can either hold you back or move you forward. The difference is how you choose to use it. The higher you want to grow, the stronger your character must be. Talent, skills, and opportunities can take you far, but only to a certain level. Without strong character, your growth becomes unstable. Character acts as the foundation that supports everything else in your life. Character determines capacity. Just like a ladder needs strong sides to support someone climbing it, your personal growth depends on the strength of your values, integrity, discipline, and consistency. If your character is weak, your growth will eventually collapse under pressure. Many people focus only on visible success, achievements, recognition, and results, while neglecting the inner qualities that sustain long-term growth. But true success is not just about reaching higher levels, it's about being able to stay there. Another important idea is that character is built through choices. It is not something you are born with. It is something you develop daily through your actions, decisions, and habits. Every time you choose honesty over convenience, discipline over comfort, or responsibility over excuses, you strengthen your character. Challenges reveal character. When things go wrong, your response shows who you truly are. Difficult moments are not just obstacles. They are opportunities to build integrity, resilience, and self-control. Shortcuts may lead to quick success, but they often damage character. And when character is compromised, long-term growth is at risk. Sustainable success requires a strong internal foundation. Personal growth is not just about what you achieve, it's about who you become in the process. The higher you want to climb in life, the more you must invest in your character. Your growth will only rise as high as your character allows. So build your foundation before you climb higher. Growth requires tension, the gap between where you are now and where you could be. Just like a rubber band must be stretched to be useful, you must stretch yourself to grow. When there is no tension, no challenge, no discomfort, no desire for something greater, growth naturally stops. Comfort may feel safe, but it limits your potential. Growth lives outside your comfort zone. If you always choose what is easy and familiar, you stay the same. But when you challenge yourself, take risks, and aim higher, you create the tension needed for progress. This tension is not something to avoid. It is something to embrace. It represents ambition, vision, and the desire to improve. Without it, there is no motivation to move forward. Another important idea is that contentment and growth must be balanced. It's important to be grateful for where you are, but not so comfortable that you stop striving to become better. Healthy growth comes from appreciating the present while still pushing toward a better future. Many people lose this tension over time. They settle into routines, become satisfied too quickly, or stop setting new goals. When this happens, progress slows down or stops completely. Maxwell encourages readers to stay intentionally stretched by setting higher goals, seeking new challenges, and continuously learning. This keeps the rubber band active and growth ongoing. Growth is a result of intentional stretching. If you want to keep growing, you must keep challenging yourself and maintaining the tension between your current reality and your future potential. If you stop stretching, you stop growing. Because growth begins where comfort ends. Growth always requires sacrifice. This is known as the law of trade-offs, and its core message is simple. You have to give up to grow up. You cannot have everything at the same time. Every opportunity, every goal, and every level of growth comes with a cost. To move forward, you must be willing to let go of something, whether it's comfort, time, habits, or even certain relationships. Successful people make intentional sacrifices. They don't just hope for growth. They choose it, even when it requires giving up short-term pleasure for long-term gain. While others look for convenience, they look for progress. Many people stay stuck because they are unwilling to make these trade-offs. They want improvement without discomfort, success without effort, and results without change. But growth doesn't work that way. Without sacrifice, there is no real progress. Another important idea is that not all sacrifices are equal. Some things are worth giving up, while others are not. The key is to understand your priorities. When you are clear about what truly matters, it becomes easier to let go of what doesn't align with your goals. Sometimes you have to give up something now in order to gain something better later. Delayed gratification is a powerful part of growth. It requires patience, discipline, and long-term thinking. Trade-offs are not losses. They are investments. What you give up today creates space for something greater tomorrow. When you see sacrifice as a step forward rather than a step back, your mindset shifts completely. Growth is a choice, and every choice comes with a cost. The question is not whether you will make sacrifices, but whether you are willing to make the right ones. If you want something you've never had, you must be willing to give up something you've always held on to. Growth begins when you start asking why. Curiosity is the spark behind learning, creativity, and progress. When you are curious, you don't just accept things as they are. You question them, explore them, and seek deeper understanding. This mindset naturally leads to growth because it pushes you beyond surface-level thinking. Curious people never stop learning. They constantly ask questions like, "Why does this work? How can this be improved? What can I learn from this situation?" These questions open the door to new ideas, perspectives, and opportunities. Many people lose their curiosity over time. They become comfortable, stop questioning, and settle into routine thinking. This lack of curiosity leads to stagnation because without questions, there is no discovery. Another important idea is that curiosity requires humility. To ask questions, you must admit that you don't know everything. This openness allows you to grow faster because you are always willing to learn from others, experiences, and even your own mistakes. He also highlights that curiosity fuels innovation. When you are willing to explore new possibilities and challenge assumptions, you become more creative and adaptable in a changing world. Maxwell encourages readers to intentionally develop curiosity as a daily habit. By reading, observing, asking questions, and staying open-minded. Growth is not just about finding answers. It's about asking better questions. Curiosity is not just a personality trait, it is a choice. And when you choose to stay curious, you create endless opportunities for growth. The moment you stop asking questions is the moment you stop growing. So stay curious, and growth will follow. It's hard to improve when you have no one to follow but yourself. One of the fastest ways to grow is by observing and learning from people who are already where you want to be. Instead of trying to figure everything out on your own, you can accelerate your progress by studying the habits, mindset, and strategies of successful individuals. Modeling shortens the learning curve. When you follow the example of others, you avoid unnecessary mistakes and gain access to proven methods. This doesn't mean copying blindly. It means learning intelligently and adapting what works to your own life. Growth is not meant to be a solo journey. Many people limit themselves by trying to do everything independently, but real growth often happens through connection, mentorship, and guidance. Another important idea is that choosing the right models matters. Not everyone is worth following. You should look for people who not only achieve success, but also demonstrate strong character, discipline, and integrity. The right role models influence both your results and who you become. Modeling requires humility. To learn from others, you must be willing to admit that someone else knows more or has achieved more in a certain area. This openness allows you to grow faster and more effectively. Maxwell encourages readers to actively seek mentors, study successful individuals, and surround themselves with people who inspire growth. Over time, you begin to adopt their habits, thinking patterns, and standards. You don't have to grow alone. When you learn from the right people, your growth becomes faster, clearer, and more intentional. If you want to grow faster, don't walk the path alone. Learn from those who have already walked it successfully. Growth always increases your capacity. Personal growth is not just about gaining knowledge or improving skills. It is about expanding your inner capacity, the ability to think bigger, handle more responsibility, manage complexity, and stay steady under pressure. As you grow, your mental, emotional, and relational container becomes larger. Growth stretches you before it strengthens you. At first, new levels of responsibility or challenge may feel uncomfortable. You may feel stretched beyond your limits. But this stretching is exactly what expands your capacity over time. Without it, you remain the same size mentally and emotionally. Many people underestimate their own potential because they judge themselves based on their current capacity rather than their growing capacity. They assume, "I can't handle that," when in reality, they simply haven't grown into it yet. Growth changes what you are capable of handling. Capacity determines opportunity. Life tends to give more responsibility, influence, and opportunity to those who have developed the ability to handle it. If your capacity is small, your opportunities remain small. But when you expand your capacity, new possibilities naturally appear. Expansion happens through intentional growth experiences, learning new skills, facing challenges, taking responsibility, and stepping into uncomfortable situations. These experiences gradually stretch your thinking and emotional resilience. Maxwell further explains that capacity is not just intellectual, it is emotional and relational as well. Growing in patience, empathy, discipline, and self-control all increase your ability to handle life at a higher level. True expansion means becoming stronger in every dimension of your life, not just one. Another powerful insight is that comfort limits expansion. When you consistently stay in what is easy and familiar, your capacity remains the same. Growth requires discomfort, because expansion only happens when you are stretched beyond your current limits. Growth is not just about improvement, it is about enlargement. You are not just becoming better, you are becoming bigger on the inside. And that internal expansion determines how much life you can truly handle and experience. You don't grow just to improve your life. You grow to expand your capacity to live it fully. Growing yourself enables you to grow others. True growth is never meant to end with you. Personal development is not just about self-improvement, success, or achievement. It is about impact. The real measure of growth is how much value you can add to the lives of others. You cannot give what you do not have. If you want to uplift, inspire, or guide others, you must first invest in your own growth. The more you learn, develop, and improve yourself, the more you have to offer to the world around you. Many people focus only on personal success, but growth reaches its highest level when it becomes outward focused. When you shift from, "What can I get?" to, "What can I give?" your growth takes on deeper meaning and purpose. Contribution gives meaning to growth. Without contribution, personal growth can feel incomplete or self-centered. But when you use your growth to serve others, through teaching, mentoring, encouraging, or leading, it becomes more fulfilling and impactful. Even small contributions matter. You don't need to be highly successful or experienced to make a difference. Every step of your growth can positively influence someone else, whether through your example, your support, or your actions. Growth naturally creates responsibility. As you become more capable, you also become more responsible for helping others grow. Leadership, in this sense, is not about position. It is about influence and contribution. You begin by growing yourself intentionally, and you end by using that growth to serve others. This is where personal development becomes truly meaningful. The highest level of growth is not what you gain for yourself, it's what you give to others because of it. Thank you for listening to today's episode. Real growth is not accidental. It is intentional, consistent, and deeply personal. It begins with awareness, grows through discipline, expands your capacity, and ultimately finds its highest purpose in contribution. Remember, growth is not just about becoming better for yourself, but about becoming someone who can make a meaningful difference in the lives of others. Every small step you take today shapes the person you become tomorrow. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share it with someone who is committed to personal growth. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep giving your best to the world.